Welcome to the Voices of Tomorrow, the podcast of Maryland's Boys and Girls State, where we highlight the young leaders of today who are shaping the communities of tomorrow. I'm your host, David Heredia. In tonight's episode, From Delegates to Mentors, Why They Came Back. We're exploring the happenings after the week of Boys and Girls State when a simple yes can turn into a lifetime of service and leadership. In this conversation, we'll hear from former Boys and Girls State delegates and a counselor who's watched hundreds of young leaders grow in real time. Together, we unpacked the first yes that brought them to the program, the mentors who shaped their path, and the reason they continue to come back to give that same spark to the next class. We'll share real stories of finding a voice, learning to lead, and serving with a purpose, plus practical advice for the first-time delegates and anyone who wants to get involved as a staff or a volunteer. At this time, I'm excited to be joined tonight by three incredible members of our Boys and Girls State family. Zach McGrath is a 2022 graduate of Maryland's Boys State and Boys Nation. He hails from Severna Park, Maryland, and he served as the student member of Anne Arundel County Board of Education during the 22-23 school year. Zach is currently a junior at the University of Pennsylvania, majoring in political science. At Penn, he is a research assistant active in student government and works with the Philadelphia City Council. He is a two-time city mentor and will be returning to Maryland's Boys State in 2026. Look forward to having you back, Zach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our next guest, Robin Azulis, is the first vice director of American Legion Girls State and a member of Unit 191. She's a proud Girls State and Nation State alumni from 2017. So not only do we get to hear from Zach's point of view, we get to hear from your point of view as well. In the National High School Oratorical Contest of 2017, having served with Girls State every year since she was a citizen. She has the importance of teaching young women about government and policies, as well as giving them the confidence to get involved. And finally, our next guest is someone who's on the front lines of shaping tomorrow's leaders. Patrick Robbins has completed his third year counselor with Maryland's Boys State and part of a new generation of leaders bringing fresh energy, new ideas, and real inspiration to the program. He spent the last 3 summers helping delegates find their voice, stepping into leadership, and see what's possible when they say yes into the experience. Patrick, welcome to the Voices of Tomorrow. So happy to have all of y'all here with me tonight. So let's get started. Zach, let's start with you. What part of Maryland do you call home? I know I said Severna Park, but where exactly in Severna Park?
Sure. So, my parents just recently moved. My dad took a new job in D.C. So as of right now, I'm a Bethesda, Maryland guy. But for most of my life and during my time when I was at Boys State, I came from Berrywood, which is kind of a borough of Severna Park, but definitely a proud Anne Arundel Countyan. I think that's what we call us Desians there.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a part of Maryland, Central Maryland, where I spent a lot of my time.
And which post sponsored you when you came to Boys State?
Post 127.
127 is a great post. And now that you're up at Penn, what do you get to do that relates to what you learned here at Boys State?
Sure. So a good mentor of mine is the majority whip on the Philadelphia City Council, and I assist him on his legislative team. But, a good friend of mine from the program who's also here at Penn, who does politics as well, albeit he's on the different side, which, not to derail too much, but that's what I love about Boys State. That Boys State experience is you can be different politically, you can be different in really any key demographic kind of component, but you can become friends over that week. Not to get too far down the line for this conversation, but what we both really appreciate, and we've talked about all the time, is Boys State is a tremendous opportunity to learn how to do government right, especially if you're interested in becoming an elected official down the line. That's not particularly my interest, but working in government, working in politics is, and just being responsive to what people want to see from government, going the extra mile, always, having a positive attitude. You're going to have setbacks, at Boys State, but you're also going to have really high highs. So just to tie it all together, it's really all about the attitude in government and politics, that attitude of perseverance and respect for the people that are kind enough to send you to your respective offices and jobs. And I think that's just what's so critical about that Boys State education.
So when you went from Boys State to Boys Nation, can you tell me a little bit about what you experienced between the two programs? I mean, they belong to the American Legion, but you went from a Department of Maryland program to the national program, and you got to meet folks from all over the country. So can you tell me just a little bit about that?
Sure. It was really funny. You kind of see the differences in the states. I love the Texas delegates. They were very pro Texas. They had the hats and the cowboy boots, and then you had the senator from Alabama, who I still remember to this day. His name was Bo. He was a great guy. He would talk your ear off about the peanut industry in Alabama, which, come to find out, huge for their economy. And I think what I learned about Boys Nation is just truly how diverse our nation is in all ways, especially what different political issues different states care about. We have the Eastern Shore here in Maryland, so agriculture is really important to us. All the debates about like chickens and all of that, and chicken waste in the Bay, super important, but not the top three issues for someone like me in Central Maryland, right? But when
Right.
I'm talking to these senators from Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, agriculture is one of their top issues. It is the issue that's going to decide if they have food on the table or not, quite frankly. And I think respecting those issues, right? So I learned I need to know something about agriculture if I'm serious about being a public servant, right? Because it
Right.
might not directly impact me, but it's going to impact my friends here, right? From Boys Nation. So I think that respect and that understanding of how important it is to know about different issues was the greatest takeaway from Boys Nation.
Yeah, and you keep using that word respect, and that's one of our letters of our acronym, RICE.
Yes, it is.
We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But that's a great perspective that you brought to us. You what you've learned, what you've taken the pen, and what you did over at Nation State. So again, we're glad you're here with us. And then Robin, I had the wonderful opportunity to sit with you this past year at Girl State when I went and spoke to y'all, and I found out something exciting about a school that you graduated from, UGA. And I'm
Go
a big
dogs.
That's right. Go Dogs, right? And I'm a big Dogs fan. So you sitting there next to me and Deb, that was a great conversations piece that we have. So I'm glad that not only that you are an alumni of such a great institution, not that Penn isn't, but I am an SEC fan. But you're here with us, and your accomplishments are amazing, just like Zach's. But from the girls program, they're excellent. So, how many years have you been involved now with Girls State, and between being a delegate and a staff?
Yeah, so I was a delegate in 2017, so that was 8 years ago, and I have been on staff ever since. So I've been back every year, with the slight exception of 2020 when we unfortunately had to cancel our program
Right.
due to COVID.
So, when you left the program here to go on to college, where you went to finish your high school year, and then you went to UGA. I know you looked at different universities. Were you ever to take any of that experience that you learned during your time at Girls State to UGA?
Absolutely. Yeah, so one of the things I always tell the young ladies during their Girls State orientation is that they should view Girls State as a launching point. We cannot in 1 week teach you everything you could ever want to know about being involved in government and politics. We just can't. But we can give you an introduction. We can give you a taste of what democracy looks like. I really appreciate what Zach said about democracy going well.
Right.
And then from there, we view it as a launching point for them to figure out what they're going to do next with it. And so we always encourage young ladies to vote. It made me very excited for my first time voting in an election. We're catching them at a critical moment when they're 17 and about to turn 18 and able to vote. And then when I went on to college, I volunteered on a number of political campaigns and in various political activities. And advocated on campus over the course of my 4 years. One thing I'm particularly proud of was being a part of UGA Votes, which was an organization that registered college students to vote and encouraged them to do so.
Over in Athens, right?
Yes,
Athens.
that's correct.
So, did you meet any alumni while you were at UGA
I absolutely did. Yeah, so you will meet alumni of Girls State all over the place. You never really know where. So in my case, there was an alumna of Arkansas Girls State who was in my scholarship program. And so we were able to talk about our experiences in the program. And then one of the people who competed with me for that same scholarship was my Girls Nation president. She and I had gone to Girls Nation together. We actually had both been nominated by our respective parties to be presidential candidates. And then, she became the president of Girls Nation, and we both applied for and received the same scholarship offer at the University of Georgia. So those are the kinds of things, you have these people for the rest of your life as a resource. There are still people in my Girls Nation class who reach out to each other and, get connected with internships and different opportunities and things of that nature. So
That's amazing. And you're also runner up in the oratorical at the national level. So that means you won the state.
I am.
How did that help you with both attending Girls State and going to UGA and doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, so being a part of the oratorical contest, that was actually how I learned about Girls State, because I was going to the posts and, giving speeches. I thought the oratorical contest was like the coolest thing in the world. At the time, I wanted to be an attorney. I am not an attorney, and I've decided that that's not going to be my path forward. But at the time, I really wanted to be. And so doing a constitutional speech contest just felt really cool. And it was hard. It was challenging. You're having to memorize all of these speeches. But it was a lot of fun. And so when I came to the posts and I was meeting all these people and just getting to know a lot of the veterans there, they introduced me to Girls State and made absolutely certain that I was going to go. Unit 191 was very ready to sponsor me for that. And so going through the oratorical contest process made me a good public speaker. It taught me a lot of the skills that I use to this day when I give presentations at work and speak in various contexts. And it helped me at Girls State and at Girls Nation. The one thing that I got at Girls State and Nation that you don't get from the oratorical contest is really the impromptu speaking, being able to answer hard questions on the fly. And that was something that I learned from there that benefited me greatly. In college, we would do political debates that I would participate in, and now I'm having to answer questions for in various contexts for my employer. So a very important skill to learn.
So I know being the chief administrator at Boys State, I'm proud of the accomplishments you both have done, Zach and Robin. That's outstanding, because you are what we always say are empowering our future leaders, and that's what you both are. So Patrick, like I said earlier, you've just completed your third year. You're getting ready to start your fourth year. We like the fact that you bring that next generation of leadership to the program. Hearing these two fine, outstanding citizens of Boys and Girls State, what does that? How does what you do at Boys State now make you feel after hearing these two talk about the programs and what they're doing now?
Oh, it's incredible. And I've personally worked with Zach in cities. He's been paramount for his knowledge, what he's learning in the political science realm right now, and I'm sure Robin has the same. It's they're able to connect with the citizens in a way that I cannot. They're only a couple years removed, so especially if we're the authority figures, they're kind of like, hey, shake it off. This is what we need to do. So it's been a great help, and I think that's a huge part of the program and why we do see the successes that we've seen.
Yeah, and again, having known you for the past few years, we're happy that you're part of the staff. So thank you. Based on if you had to guess in your 3 years, how many delegates have passed through your city over the last few years?
It's definitely over 130 maybe.
And different personalities, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the cool parts that I like. You get a lot of people, a lot of students, citizens that have a lot of leadership in the sports realm. They're They're not introverted, but kind of where we could fill in some gaps with them is some of the more discipline aspects, and then build on their leadership capabilities off the field, teach them things about the government they normally wouldn't seek out, I suppose. And then also taking those introverts that come in that have been a part of school functions or different types of clubs, but some of them may lack like confidence. And I really enjoy trying to work and build their confidence. Some folks have never done any public speaking. So being able to coach that is incredible. You see where they're scared to death on the first day, and then by the end they're up there giving a 2-minute speech and doing a great job. Really makes me happy when I see the rest of the kids also encouraging them and supporting them.
So let's go back to the beginning. Remember I said that first yes, the moment you decided to attend Boys or Girls State and come back as a staff member or a mentor to the program. So Robin, what did you know about Girls State before you showed up on day one? And was there a moment early in that week when you thought, okay, this is bigger than I realized? And what am I doing here?
Yeah, they don't. It's so hard to explain Girls State to people. You know, I talk to people and it's a mock government program. People run for office, they give speeches, right? We're learning about government, right? All of these things, but until you're actually there and in it, it's so hard to understand the feeling of being a part of that program and really immersing yourself in with the other girls into campaigning and doing the different activities and looking at legislation. You can really have an opportunity to grow throughout the week. I would say probably one of the most formative experiences for me while I was at Maryland Girls State was going through the process of running for senator, because that's an extensive process at Maryland Girls State. You know, you write a bill and present it to others. You deliver an extemporaneous oration to the body of Maryland Girls State. And throughout the week, you're campaigning and talking to people. And it just taught me really how to be creative. One of the things that our former director and very much a pillar of our program, Miss Brianna Jackson, she always talks about when you're campaigning with people, you can't just go up to them, hi, I'm Robin Anzulis, I'm running for senator, hi, right? That doesn't make sense. You have to learn how to talk to people. And so that was a really big part of Girls State for me.
Having the opportunity this year, like I said earlier, to visit Girls State and see firsthand the interaction that you and the staff have with the young women of Girls State, and then go back to the program that I've been with for now 10 years, Boys State, and seeing the subtle differences between the two. So, Zach, now knowing what your fellow senator from Girls State had to do, can you give me a little bit about your experience at Boys State from that time you left the gym, went with your classmates in your city to where that Saturday when you walked across the stage? Because Girls State graduates on Friday and we go until Saturday. So the program's in about the same time, but we just go an extra day for graduation. So Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking a lot of thoughts, when I was marching off of that gymnasium, right? So my dad, he's Navy, 30 plus years before he retired, and he's very proud Legionnaire. So whether I liked it or not, I was going, right? And I'm kind of known as the hippie in my family. My hair isn't that long right now, but relatively to my dad, who it's always short up there, not militaristic at all, right? I go there, and for the first time in my life, I'm being taught how to march. I'm being taught how to be quiet. I'd say I'm a very boisterous person. And just, that was kind of a culture shock. And then getting up at 5:30 a.m. was a bit of a culture shock. And then just a lot of culture shocks. But then, so that was my first yes. But then each subsequent kind of reaction to that culture shock was positive, right? For me personally, right? So I'm becoming fast friends with everyone in my city. We're just laughing with each other about this is kind of an interesting experience. And then we go to the speakers. We have a lot of speakers at Boys State, and they're all very inspiring for different reasons. Some, they've had a personally inspiring life, but others, it's inspiring because of all they do for the state of Maryland and their constituents. So a bit of a shock, I'd say, but one that's special and, uniquely positive. That would be kind of my summary of those first few moments through graduation.
Awesome. So if you take us back to high school, and Robin, you can chime in as well. Who was the first to tell you about the program, and what finally made you say yes? So I'll go with you first, Zach.
It was my dad, actually. Funnily enough, he heard about it at the local Post, and I'd been doing some political and government work beforehand. So he said, "Let's watch the Boys State documentary." I watched it with him. I'm like, "Okay, you sold me," and that was the first yes. And then there's been a few more yeses ever since. Mr. Larimore asked me to come back as a mentor. So leading with yes has just been a very good experience with the Boys State program.
So let me ask you this. Is your dad a member of the American Legion by chance?
Yes, he is.
Is he a veteran or is he a SAL member?
He's now a veteran member.
Okay. So then I look forward to you joining the Sons if you haven't already, so that you can come back and also be a counselor, just like Cornelius, Sawyer Cornelius.
Yeah.
So think about that.
I will.
All right, Robin. Tell me what the same question goes to you, Robin.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was not allowed to say no to Girls State because once I spoke for the first time at Post 191 for the oratorical contest, they were absolutely convinced that I needed to be at Maryland Girls State, and I was happy to oblige. So yeah, that was my first yes. It sounded like a really fun program, and so ever since my freshman year of high school, I really looked forward to being able to go. But the yeses since then, yeah, there's been a lot of them. So the first yes after Girls State was actually not so much to return to staff, but actually to become a member of the American Legion Auxiliary. So I'm eligible through my grandfather, who was a merchant marine during World War II. And so when I saw that, I had been through the program and I saw the impact that the auxiliary was having, and especially with respect to teaching young women how to be good citizens, and made the decision to join Unit 191. And then the next yeses were to come back on staff, first as a junior counselor, as the senator from the previous year, and serving in that role. And then I kept coming back every year after, because I think this program is just very important. It's very important because we're taking young women out of their usual contexts and activities, and we're putting them in an environment where they're participating in government, and they're learning how to do elections and how to work together and champion causes, and that's not something that you get in school. And so I think that this is a really important program, and I've come back every year since.
Yeah, and like Zach, we're grateful that you come back, and also that you're a member of Gold Star Post 191, or in your case, Auxiliary Unit 191. It's a great post out there in Mount Airy. So Patrick, to you, I ask you, your first yes as a counselor. What drew you to volunteer in the first place?
Oddly enough, it was Adrian Gamboa. So I happened to be I had to stay overnight at his house. I was in Westminster for a lecture at McDaniel, and we're hanging out, and he started telling me about the program, and he was like, "Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about doing this?" He explained it to me. He was like, "You know what? Let's just try it out this year." He's like, "You'll like it." He knows me. I very much highly respect Adrian. He's a retired Marine Corps Sergeant Major. So I was like, all right, yeah, we're going to try it out. He's like, "You're going to love this." And then I hate that he was that right about it, because he also knew I would do the first year and keep coming back. So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, Adrian's a great guy. He's him and I are joined the program the same year, back in 2017. Been great ever since. So what surprised you the most the first week working with the delegates, and how tired were you at the end of that first week?
Yeah, so the thing that surprised me the most is how detailed we get into writing these bills. I think it's a great thing. So it's a challenge to their minds and their bodies, because we do have our physical training, gym time, late nights, early mornings. Unfortunately, that means we go to bed after the delegates, and then we wake up before. So I try to hang in there. I'm not as young as I once was, but it was manageable. I was exhausted, but it is exciting to see in such a short period of time the growth that takes place. You see individuals come in the first day in the gym, and then by that Saturday, even their parents afterwards are like, "What did you do to my son?"
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you just make an immediate impact like that. It's incredible in such a short time.
Yeah, it's a blast, isn't it? You know,
It is.
so
They say
okay.
it's the most important thing you could do if there's anything for the American Legion, and it's one of the. I do agree with that.
Yeah. So you say yes, you show up, and very quickly you realize it's not just another summer program. So let's talk how Boys and Girls State help you find your voice and grow as leaders. So Robin, can you share a moment at Girls State when you realize you really had to step up, give a speech, run for office, or stand up in front of your city or your delegation? And how did this experience change the way you see yourself as a leader today?
Yeah, thanks for that question, David. That's a great one. So the first thing that comes to mind is when I was running for senator, and one of the things I realized, I am in a field of, incredible women. It's very competitive to run for office at Maryland Girls State because everyone is, the SGA president. Everyone is in National Honor Society, right? And so I realized I had to stand out, to find a way to compel people in a way that would make them want to vote for me. And so one of the things that I did, I decided to get a little bit creative. And so I asked all of the girls, as many as I could, what their favorite animal was, and was able to incorporate that into my introductory speech for why I was running for senator. I talked about how here we are, we have all these different favorite animals. We're a very diverse group of women, but here we are having an opportunity to come together. And so one thing I kind of learned is that I have a good creative edge, especially first thing in the morning when I come up with some of my best ideas. I would say another thing that I learned from this program is, we talk about all the time that, as I mentioned, everyone has lots of credentials and a big resume. And when I went to Girls State, one of the things that they told us was, forget your resume when you come here. You are now, a citizen of Mountain City or a citizen of Shore City, and you're on, you're a single mom of 5, or you're a teacher, right? Forget all that resume stuff that you came in with. You are a part of Girls State now. And I thought that was crazy because I was like, I have to run for, if I'm doing stuff here, how am I going to do that without telling them all of my accomplishments and resume and all these things? But it was about inspiring people with your ideas and not with whatever you've done in your past that somehow makes you so impressive. Everyone comes in with impressive things on their resume. You have to learn how to inspire people and kind of move people so that they'll vote for you.
Yeah, because you're pretty much everybody who attends is equal on an equal playing field. Everybody has their accomplishments. One of the things we do at Boys State is we ask them to stand up for their Boy Scouts or captain of a football team or baseball team. And at the end, you look around and everyone is standing up. And I can only deduce that at Girls State it's the same way. Like I said, when I was there, for the short time that I was there spending the time with y'all this year, I was impressed by your program and what you and Rocky and the staff have done. So thank you for that insight. Zach, what was there a moment at Boys State when it clicked to you? It's like, my voice actually matters here. And did that confidence follow you back to your school and in your community? I know you're doing a great job at Penn. It's not UGA, but still, it's a great school. But did any of that happen when you were there?
Well, first I have to defend the Quaker football team. Heisman was our coach back in the day, 110 some odd years ago, but we used to be good. But moving on from that,
Program still a great program. I'm just like I said, we're we're going to compete against Boys and Girls State. We got to talk some football here since, UGA and Penn. So.
Oh my God! Yeah, I actually didn't know we were in the top 10 for most national championships, which I didn't know. But anyways, before we get too much into the great debates of football, I think the moment that kind of solidified the lessons of Boys State for me was, like Robin, I was running for senator of Boys State, and there's a huge debate at the end. Where you have to answer questions about big issues affecting the state and the nation. One was about energy policy. And I had been talking with the Colbert County. First thing they let me know was it's Colbert instead of Calvert County, which was a shocker for me from not Southern Maryland, but that was a quick lesson. But I swayed the Colbert County kind of delegation to my side, which was the difference in that election, by remembering that they had told me about the Covert Cliffs nuclear power plant in their county. There'd been some controversies about it, but I brought that up during the debate. Yes, it was a bit pandering, but what they said after the debate was done was that they really respected that I had taken the time to remember that issue for their specific county, which again didn't really affect my life in Anne Arundel County, but was really important to them. And I think that moment of gratification of just putting in the basics of just respect and integrity and courage and empathy, Rice, as David, you were alluding to earlier. And you're not always going to have gratification, and it wouldn't be meaningful if you didn't. But it just was a great full circle moment when that memory, that listening came in clutch at the end. And that confidence of why these kind of values are so important definitely has been a through line in my post Boys State kind of academic and professional career.
And that's a life lesson that you learn. And I'm sure, Robin, you learned the same. Understanding the demographics of our beautiful state. And in order to get the voices, because that's what we are. We're the voices of those classmates. You speak on their behalf. So that's a powerful message that I hope that when they listen to this podcast, that they take that to heart, because that is important in life. Right? When we represent as leaders, when we represent others, that's an empowerment that you have. So thank you for that. Patrick, you get a front row seat to see the transformation. What's it like watching the delegates arrive on Sunday? Because you see it a lot different than I do, because you're there in the trenches. I'm in the fishbowl as the administrator, and seeing who they become by Friday. And without using names, is there a delegate story that sticks with you? Someone who came in quiet and left as a completely different individual or a different leader? Because we've seen those.
Yeah, there. It's a couple years ago. One of the delegates came in, just seemed really shy, looked younger than all the other boys, even though they're the same age. Had a lot of issues with public speaking. I had to make sure I paid extra attention that they weren't picking on him. As it turns out, he was behind the scenes, kind of like the glue that was holding a lot of the different cliques together. It was really cool to see by the end of graduation that year we received Best City, and the city selected that one delegate as the bearer of the Best City Guidon. So that was really cool to see. That I wouldn't have thought that would have been the case when I first saw him, and then just seeing that evolution throughout. And he definitely came in with an attitude, like knowing his shortfalls, he wanted to get better. And it's one of those, you get what you put into it. You go in and you work hard at it, there's gonna be a great personal benefit to every one of them.
Yeah, so the bottom line is nobody grows like that alone. Behind every moment that you spoke of, all three of you spoke of, there's usually a mentor or a counselor, but mainly a mentor, because they're closer to that age. So let's talk about the people who poured into you and how you try to pay that forward. So we're going to talk about mentors that you had while you were there and the moments that stuck with you. So I'm going to go to you first, Patrick. I mean, I know you're not an alumni but you are a staff member, so you get to see the mentors. And I believe you've had a couple mentors in your city, and our mentors wore yellow shirts to signify the difference between the red shirts and whatnot. So as a counselor, Patrick, what's your mentoring philosophy, and how do you guide without taking over? And how do you balance letting the delegates struggle and figure out things without stepping in and say, hey, you need to do this, or you need to do it this way?
Yeah, so the first thing, and I learned a lot from Zach, actually, because I think that was one of the first mentors that I received. And then having gone to school myself for political science, we do have a lot of in common, have a lot of great talks. Really enjoyed that. The key is that we don't want to micromanage the mentors. So I basically use the philosophy servant leadership. So it's like, what can I do to remove the obstacles that you're having? We got to lay down the ground rules. Like, don't become friends with them, more like a big brother. I think Zach did a wonderful job at that. Some years, we kind of have the line being blurred a little bit. And that's mainly because I still want the delegates to have that respect for the mentors. They went through the program. They earned that respect. And usually it's not a big problem. But a lot of it is watching them, seeing them interact, and seeing how they help the delegates. And then if there's anything like, advice that I could add on after, I'll pull them to the side. You'd be like, that was really awesome. Have you considered doing these things maybe to improve that? And then we could have that dialogue, and then they go back, and then maybe they like it, maybe they don't. But it's just trying to leverage my experience to help them get better.
Yeah. And when you say your experience, your experience not only in the military but in life, correct? Yeah. So Zach, who were the mentor or mentors that made the biggest impact to you while you were there?
Oh my gosh, that's an amazing question. It's a tough question, but Patrick, I really do appreciate that you're saying that I was teaching you something, but I really do think it was the other way around, because at each stage at Boys State, I've had different mentors. When I came back as someone on staff as a city mentor, that really was, a little bit outside my wheelhouse. I've had technically like quote unquote leadership positions, but there really is nothing that teaches leadership like, being partially responsible for 30 young men throughout a week, right? And Patrick did have that experience. He had that experience in spades. So whenever I was having a concern, like, am I doing enough for this specific young man? Am I setting the right example? Am I helping out? Patrick was really helpful in just, do this, or this is something that I learned from my time in the military, or this is what I've learned from being a businessman post, being in the military, just having all of that wealth of experience. Needless to say, it was helpful. The mentorship never really stops in the Boys State program. But moving to when I actually went through the program, I would have to say Mr. John Larimore was, indispensable, really.
Our political officer.
Yes, right? Yes. And, as someone who was very interested in politics from the get-go, having someone like him just, take an interest in me, kind of mentor me a little bit, how to, do politicking, how to, like you said, David, be a voice of all these different kids from different backgrounds. I think, I had that latent potential, but I hadn't really tapped into it as much as I would have liked at that point in my life. And Mr. Larimore was just, incredibly important for that kind of transition to occur. So definitely. And then, have to mention him, Commander Bach. He was around during the Boys Nation kind of era, and, hilarious guy, but also has a lot of heart as a leader. So just want to give everyone kind of a shout out for my different stages in the American Legion youth programs.
I mean, that's great. That's great. So thanks for that. And you mentioned John Larimore. John Larimore is our political officer. He's a 30-year alumni from the program. And he does a great deal, just like Charles Gannon, who is celebrated his 50th years. And we actually named a city after him this year. The cool thing about it is the program runs itself. Granted, Sunday and Monday, you're under what we call a dictatorship. And you're learning how to form a government. I know it's a little bit different at Girls State, but you're learning how to form a government. And when you transition on after elections on Tuesday, and you're now running that government and that voice of the people where your city comes out, you're spot on what you say. And being able to, the mentors are there to guide you along the way. And that's an outstanding thing because we, the counselor, the staff, we don't influence you on who you're voting for. Am I wrong on that?
Oh yeah, you're not wrong at all. I thought I was like saying,
Yeah,
you're all good.
you
Yeah,
all,
no,
you
completely
all,
right.
you all have to prove your net worth by being able to speak for them. So thank you for that. So Robin, you had mentors as a delegate, and now you're the deputy director. So someday I assume you'll be the director of Girl State if it's in your for you to happen on your path. Who were the people that believed in you early on, and did those mentors influence you to lead where you're at today at Girl State?
So my citizen year, I would say some of the most important mentors to me were the junior counselors, who are the equivalent of the city mentors at Boys State. And those junior counselors are former citizens who are returning and providing mentorship and encouragement for the girls as they go through their week. They believed in me like nobody else throughout the week. They helped me out. They were, the former senators were a sounding board as I was working through that process. They check in, they see how you're doing. They just had a really important role in me during that week. And since then, it's been all of these different staff over the years as I've stepped into various roles on staff, right? First as a junior counselor, and then as I got older as a senior staff. And so now I had a city of my own, more so in Patrick's role. And then now these past 2 years, as I've stepped into the role of one of the 3 directors, I've had a number of people, former directors, people like Brianna Jackson, who've really been by my side and encouraging me, teaching me how to hold those roles well. And it's something for me that I always strive to do is to emulate the way that they've treated me to the young ladies that I now get to serve. I always want to encourage them, always want to meet them where they're at. A lot of them are really scared about Girl State because, it's nerve-wracking. There's a lot of anxiety. And so I just always want to be just continuing to, I think of it as like we're kind of, this is where their comfort zone is. We're going to just push them a little bit, right? We're going to push them past their comfort zone and get them to grow. That's the best way to do it. So yeah, we push them past their comfort zone, and then we encourage them along the way and make sure we're by their side for it.
Yeah, I followed y'all along more so this year by being on your group page, and I saw that growth that you speak about, and that's an amazing thing to witness. I see it at Boys State with these young men that come there on day one and not knowing what's going on, and even our counselors, the new counselors that come in, they don't know what to expect, and by the end of the week, they're exhausted, but they can't wait to come back. Right, Patrick?
Absolutely. And it's also an important part is the friends that you make. I mean, how many of the guys, we hang out all the time in between.
Yeah.
Like I've hung out with Sawyer a couple times. Like it's that brothership that extends beyond just the military. Like we all suffer through the heat 1 week in June together.
Yep. Yeah. So for a lot of people, those mentors and those moments are exactly why you come back. So let's talk about the decision to return and stay involved year after year. So Patrick, you've seen class after class of young leaders. I know we talked about it briefly. So what keeps you coming back to Boys State?
So what hits me the hardest is the past delegates once they graduate, and then we post on the website or on the Facebook page all the colleges they get into. And I just remember some of the delegates when they got there that day, the first day, and then now they're getting into a service academy or a great ROTC program at a really great college. Like the pride that I get that sees from start to finish for them, that's what brings you back. I feel that I'm making a difference.
Yeah, great point. Robin, hearing what Patrick just said, you could have ended your Girl State story we're all on a journey together. And that chapter of your story could have ended with why I went once and it was great, but it didn't. So what made you come back to do what you're doing today with the enthusiasm that you have for the program?
Yeah, they couldn't get rid of me if they tried. It's a great program. I think one of the biggest things that I always come back for, it's the camaraderie, as Patrick was talking about with some of the other staff. You really get to know these women over the course of the week. We bond. We have an opportunity to work together towards a common purpose, and that is, to teach and encourage and help grow these young women into leaders. And it's an important task. It's a worthy task. And so working together towards that end, it keeps me coming back year after year.
Awesome. And we're happy to have you. So Zach, similar question. As an alumni, stepping into the mentor role, what made you say, I'm not done with this program and want to give back? And what would you say to a former delegate that's listening to this podcast and is on the fence about coming back? Because, Mr. Larimore reaches out to them and coming back to be either a mentor or a staff member. What would you tell them?
It's just flat out fun. I think some of the hardest laughs I've ever had was with my mentorship classes, our cohorts. I still keep up with some of the guys in Legion City 2022, but it's almost like an every other day type of level of correspondence with, Noah, all the other mentors for my first year as being a mentor, coming back again. You just really develop. It's almost like going through Boys State all over again, but in a very different manner. You're really developing as a leader, like I was kind of alluding to with mentioning Patrick mentoring me as a leader. Leadership positions are great in high school and college and your first initial jobs in the workforce. But learning just by doing as a city mentor, I think is just, it's hard to replicate elsewhere. And it really accelerates your maturity and your leadership skills. And, like I said, you're accelerating your leadership skills while having a lot of fun. And I always really look forward to Boys State, catching up with all the mentors, all the staff members. And it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about the journey. Now let's leave some practical advice for students who might be packing their bags for Boys and Girls State soon, going up on our website. And you can go in there and hit the apply button for the particular program that you want to go to. Registration starts now, through the beginning of May. So let's talk about what would you tell them. So I want to throw back a few questions to each of you, short answers, honest answers, which I know you'll give me, and whatever comes to mind first. What's one thing you wish you knew before you showed up at Boys or Girls State? Number 2, what's one thing every delegate should do during the week? And 3, what's one fear or worry they should leave at home? This goes out to any of you.
I wish I knew how to make a bed. Not that I don't, but I wish I knew how to do hospital corners, all of that. So that's the first thing I'll throw out there.
You mean you forgot how to do that? Do I need to bring you back next year so you can do it? Put you back in the school?
No.
All right, Patrick, you got something to do there. What about you, Robin?
All right. So the first question was one thing I wish I had known. I think is that just you don't sleep very much at Girls State, especially once you get on staff. You think that once you get on staff, you're going to sleep more. That is incorrect. You will not sleep anymore. So I wish I had known how little sleep. If in terms of what everyone should do when they come to Girls State is try to do as much as you can, as much as you can get involved with, and that doesn't have to be always formal things. There are formal government activities, and there's the talent show and all these things, but as involved as you can with the other girls, right? So that whether that's formal or informal, just be in the moment, just be involved as you can. You take out of it what you get into it. So I think a lot of girls are just really afraid of failing or not doing well in the program. Because we're telling them they're going to give speeches and they're going to be doing mock government, and they've just got this mindset of I have to achieve, and that losing an election means that I've failed somehow. No, if you run for office, that's already a win, because you've just done something that you wouldn't have done before. If you don't run at all, then you're no better off than before. But if you run, if you lose, then you're in the same place. But if you run and you win, then now you're better off, right? And so so we just put the fear of failure aside. Just try, just do your best, just try, and if you don't win the election, you still won by putting yourself out there and learning how to public speak and campaign.
Yeah, there's no failures at Boys or Girls State, is there? Everything is a success story.
No, sir.
Am I-
Everything, anyone who comes and puts their best effort in is a success story.
Yeah, because just we've had students that didn't get elected to a certain position that they ran for. That's not a failure. That's a success story. They did something that they would normally not have done in their lives. So to me, that's an amazing in itself, and that's the empowerment that we give them at this program. So now, for anyone listening who's thinking about how to get involved, whether as a delegate or if there's a parent trying to convince their son or daughter to attend, a teacher that has someone in mind, because you've all had teachers that said, to try to inspire you to do stuff, or a Legion family member. Let's talk about that on-ramp and how to be part of such a great program, because this program changes you forever. It's a life lesson for our future. So this goes to Robin or Patrick. If a student is listening and wants to attend Boys or Girls State, where should they start? How can a parent, teacher, or counselor help a student get into the program? And if someone wants to serve as a staff or volunteer, what is the best way to reach out?
Well, I can take it for Boys State. Well, it would probably apply to Girls State too, but I think your first step is go to the website that you had already identified. It has everything on there. If you want one of your children to go, if you want to volunteer yourself, or you have a family member, all the information is there. If you're unable to use a computer or get online, you go to your local American Legion post and get a hold of the post commander, get his phone number, and he could point you in the right direction.
And no one's turned away at either one of these programs. And the website again is ndboysgirlsstate.org. You can also go through it and find it on ndlegion.org and click on the programs and go into the Boys and Girls State. And from there, like you said, Patrick, if you're a student that wants to go, you can click on apply now. If you're a veteran or a Legion family member or who wants to attend one of the programs as a staff member, you can click on that link as well. So, Robin?
Yeah, so same here. So go to that link to apply as either a citizen or a staff. If you have any questions about ALA Maryland Girls State, you can email them to alamdgs@gmail.com. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you. We need staff. We definitely need staff. So if you are, an auxiliary member and you're kind of on the fence, you don't know, come join us. You will not regret it.
And I'll be putting these links and emails at the end during the credits. So, but that's important information. So, to the parents of these students and the teachers or the counselors, are there any concerns that they should have about this program, or should they, because it's a great program on governance. So, do you hear of any teachers or parents that you've spoken to that, I don't know, my son or daughter should go? Zach, have you ever heard that?
No, especially after I mentioned that we send kids to, the service academies are great, but we send kids to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Penn, big Penn guy. We send them throughout the Ivy League and the Ivy Plus. So if you are an ambitious kid, or if you're an ambitious parent and you want the best for your son or daughter, send them our way.
Yeah, because you put that on your resume.
And it leads to other opportunities, right? We have speakers who come in who are at all levels of Maryland government. A conversation can turn into an internship pretty easily.
All right, Uga, what about you? Uga is the Georgia Bulldogs mascot name, so I'm not calling.
I have to say I've never been called by my mascot before, but I'm honored. Yeah. Parents should be very happy that their daughters will leave with an extra boost of confidence and maybe an uncanny knowledge of the functioning of Maryland state government. They should be definitely very happy that that's a possibility. Known symptom of attending Maryland Girls State. So yeah, but hey, any questions and comments that parents have, we're happy to answer those as well. There's always something there. Oh, my daughter's gonna go away from home for the first time. One thing parents should know: this is a great opportunity for your daughter to, and for Boys Day, I'm sure as well, for your son to figure out what kinds of stuff they need for their dorm. I learned very quickly through Maryland Girls State that the kind of shower caddy that I had it was not going to be what I used for college, and so I needed a different approach. So you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, we do put a packing list in your packets. So if you're listening to the program, not to worry. There is a packing list, one specifically for Boys State and one designed for Girls State. They're totally different because even though the programs teach you governance, the way they're ran, there's a lot of singing, a lot of kumbaya over at Girls State. I mean that in a good way. And they're always trash talking Boys State. They even did it while I was there speaking to y'all, and I loved it. It was interesting. So, and we're trying to think about doing a live debate, but every time we have a debate, governor to governor, Boys States get shellacked. So I don't know if that's that extra day that gives y'all the advantage, or is it just because you're women and you're smarter than the guys over at Boys State? I don't know which one it is, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have a live podcast from McDaniel College and bring y'all in so that we can show the debate real time. So I'm still working with our director on that. So
all I'm saying, David, is we're a democracy from day one.
Yeah, and y'all do a great job. So with these young men, we have to put our thumb down a little bit, right, Zach? First day and a half.
Yeah, it would be chaos if you gave us, any bit of leash,
That's right. So, but y'all do learn your left from your right, and how to march and how to sing. So, and the workouts is also great. So I'll give you each one last fill in the blank question. So this is the question: Boys and Girls State is. And I'll start with you, Robin.
Boys and Girls State is growth.
Same question, Zach.
Transformational.
Patrick?
Leadership.
All great answers. So if you could speak directly to a future delegate listening right now, what's your one sentence message to them? I'll start with you, Patrick.
Come join us and be willing to get out of your comfort zone, and you'll make friends for a lifetime and an experience you'll never forget.
Robin?
What are you waiting for? Go sign up.
I love that one. Plain and simple. Zach?
Let's go have some fun.
I want to thank you all for being here. You made this experience enlightening for me. So Zach, Robin, and Patrick, thank you for sharing your stories, your hearts, and your continued service to a great program here at Maryland's Boys and Girls State. For those listening, remember, it all starts with one yes. Boys and Girls State aren't just about a week in the summer. They're about discovering your voice, learning how to lead, and choosing to serve something bigger than yourself. If you know a student who should be here, or if you're all ready to come back as a staff or a volunteer, reach out, get connected, and be part of the next generation of this journey. This has been the Voices of Tomorrow. I'm your host, David Heredia. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you at Boys and Girls State.